Welcome back. Today I thought I'd share a video of all the things that I like and dislike about the Lian PCO11 and things that I think could have made quite a big difference if they had have thought about it differently, in my opinion, and then also how I've managed the cables in the back. One of the first things I really dislike about this case is the way that they've done the filter at the bottom. It's magnetic, as you can see. The problem that I've found with it is when you've mounted a bottom radiator, the screws slightly protrude at the bottom, and the magnets and the way that they've designed this filter is really hard for you to get it to sit there, covering all of the bottom slots and then staying there. And trying to move the case, if you just touch it, it falls off. And it's a real nightmare. I think what would have been better if they had have designed into the bottom feet a little slot and made it a proper solid version of that filter. It would have been a lot easier. We can just slide it in and out. One of the things that I find most useful and the easiest things to work with on this case, and I've never really come across it on another full glass windowed case, is just how easy these slot in and out. It's just such an easy thing to work with, and I wish more case manufacturers would work with that. One of the other things that I dislike about this case is where they've located the motherboard. My opinion, the bottom radiator could either be thicker or have been left as it is, but with the motherboard slightly higher, I think they could have designed a vertical GPU mount here and it not being interfering with the bottom radiator setup. I did try to look at a way of doing it, but it just didn't quite sit right, so I opted for the horizontal version again. One of the other things to remember here is the dimensions and how it works for an aftermarket GPU. The thing that I've noticed is I've got a ASUS Strix 2080 Ti, and if you put an EK water block on it, the factory way it will hit the glass and it means you can't get the glass on. So what I've had to do in here is take the RTX logo off the main block here, and then I ended up getting a file and filing down that point there just so that I could get it in. Looks okay and it works well now, but just something to bear in mind. On the rear, I can show you what I'm going to mention is actually to do with the front. You can see here there's a couple of little raised areas, and that's for where the bottom feet screw into the chassis. On the other side where you locate the radiator, those are up as well, and so when you're trying to locate the radiator, it actually lifts the radiator off the chassis, which is quite awkward to line up, and it also slightly twists the radiator in there, for the one that I have at least, which is a EKP E360. Another thing that I didn't really like too much is the way that they've done this. This is for the front USB and power button, etc. It's around about 5 mils too thick to be able to get a proper radiator in here without it being really hard wedged against it, which is really annoying. I could have probably got a third radiator the same thickness of the ones that I have currently in here if it wasn't for those being just 4 or 5 mils too thick. And I don't think it would have been a really hard fix for them just to slightly change that or slightly push it in further. Onto some more positive stuff. What I really love is being able to move the power supply from the top to the bottom, or vice versa. It just gives you a wee bit more to work with. And for me personally, having it on the top has really helped with cable management, and also, as you can see, being able to put the lighting control and the fan control units down the bottom from Corsair there. Another thing I did find very odd is in here is the smallest possible screw ever. If you take it out and don't put it back into to the main hard drive cable cover, I guess you'd call it here, you'd lose that so easily. So what I'm going to do is undo it right now and just bring it in a bit so you can see how small that screw is. Yep. Now if you look at that screw, it is so small down here. If you take that out, you'd lose it. I don't actually understand why it was put in here to start with, because when you slot it in, it comes down into those two grooves and you screw it in at the top, so you can't actually take it out without undoing the two screws at the top. So the bottom one just doesn't quite make sense why that's in there. So what I thought I'd do right now, while we've got all this rear cover off, is just show you the way that I've done the cables. I think the first thing that I would advise you do is running the main cables from the front power buttons and USBs, etc. along the top, in behind here, getting them down to the bottom and just shoving them through the main hole down the bottom and leaving them there to start with, and then actually working with all of your fan cables, because there's so many of them. If you're running Corsair LL fans like I am, or any of the other Corsair fans, I think run two cables, so one for the lighting and one for the fan. I just found there's so much cable involved in it, and if you don't want to modify those cables, then you really need to try and figure out a way to run them. So what I did was run all the fan cables first, loop them up on top of each other, and then just zip tie them together. After that, then actually start running all the other cables. The majority of that chunk of cable work there is actually running between these two and then all the fan cables. After that, there's only one SATA cable in there two powering both these units. And then as you can see, just all of your other main power cables that you need, CPU cables, motherboard cables, GPU cables. I don't really have a lot in here. Trying to get it a bit closer for you so you can see a bit better. And then trying to tidy them up and keep them in nice vertical rows, I've always found works is pretty good. Another one popping up there. With this, because I had a couple of extra inches in it, just looping them in behind stuff, making it look like it's locking itself in, it sort of helps out a bit. In conclusion, I think this case is probably one of the best cases I've ever worked with, and I've done not as many builds as what a lot of other people would have, but for the average home user, I've probably done around about 9 builds now over the last 15 odd years, and I've really found that this case is certainly the case to choose if you're going for a full water cooling setup. Ideally distro blocks, etc., they make a big difference if you're going for aesthetics. But it does mean you lose, in this case in particular, it does mean you lose the third radiator option. If you were really good on a CNC machine, you could probably make your own, maybe slot it down the back here or something like that, which would free up that other chamber on that side there so that you can put another set of radiators and fans and etc. in there. But overall, probably one of the best cases, and with all those little flaws that I've mentioned, I still really love this case and think that I'll probably have it for a few builds to come yet. I'll probably just change the way that I've run some tubing, etc. If you want to know anything further, please like and subscribe and leave comments down below. Cheers.